If the culprit ran with the money, there'd be no guarantee of the hostage's well-being. Trying to figure out what the pause button here is. Doesn't seem to be one so far. Well, at least I can just skip through all these words if I have to. Still nothing. Sasayama muttered. So there's autosave, so it looks like I don't have to worry about that. There he is. He's here. Kuze broke in, his voice spiking into an excited chirp. Don't get too excited. Need to keep your calm. Kuze's particular voice quirk. Whenever he gets overly flustered, excited, or panicked, he slips into a childish register, prone to babbling and pitching his voice. That's not good for a detective. Subject is a young male in his 20s, wearing a bandana and an orange hoodie. Kuze, normally calm and stoic, was now squawking like an excited child. That only happened when he got particularly worked up. Kano and Sasayama steeled themselves. They could see the subject now. He's not carrying a suitcase, though. If you're gonna get the money from a suitcase, you think that you would make a swap, at least, of suitcases? A 20-something male nonchalantly approached Hitomi to talk to her. All right, people. Be ready to grab this guy. Kuze was stationed in the mobile command center not far from the intersection, keeping tabs on the situation via video surveillance from the camera team. The young man started speaking enthusiastically to Hitomi. The detective watched, uncertain. Was this really the kidnapper? You'll encounter selections like these during the story. These choices will change the lives of other people in addition to changing your own fate. Use the arrow keys to make your choice, then press space. The current choice will not impact you or any of the other protagonists. Okay then, that's nice to know. But I'm assuming just like Until Dawn, the other choices will make a difference. The situation wasn't entirely clear. He needed to get a better look at things. The newcomer held a bundle of letter-sized paper which he showed to Hitomi as he went on talking. He tried to hand her one of the papers, but she pointedly ignored him. Undeterred, the man kept trying to foist it off on her. Hitomi refused to respond, becoming as motionless as the statue of Hachiko behind her, until finally the man gave up and walked away. Guess it wasn't him. Kano felt the tension of the moment linger in his spine. Guy must have been hitting on her, Sasayama muttered. Succeeding at meeting someone on the fly like this takes a special knack. Looks are always important. Sometimes, of course, the person trying to get your attention out of nowhere is just trying to make a sales pitch for a product or a nearby establishment. At first glance, it isn't always easy to tell the difference. That's not what hitting on means. He had a point. Oh, I mean, she is pretty cute and all. He had a point. Though, of course, something in Sasayama's voice made Kano brace himself. She's got nothing on my Mi-chan. Mi-chan was Sasayama's wife. They'd gotten married just last month. Let me tell you, Kano, married life is the best. You gotta hurry up and give it a try for yourself. This was Sasayama's favorite topic lately, and Kano was getting more and more fed up with it. Sasayama, come on, knock it off already, okay? The phrase had become more common refrain of a common refrain. The phrase had become a common refrain of his since the department partnered them. Fine, fine. Let's talk about your girlfriend then. Huh? Now, you can't be serious. Sasayama leaned in close again. What's she like? We are not having this conversation. Kano muttered, looking away. Aw, come on. Sasayama set his hand on Kano's chest, still playing the homeless troublemaker, the very suspicious homeless troublemaker. Show me your phone. Let me see your lock screen. That's a little bit, how do I say it? What's the word? Invading privacy. Huh? Sasayama pawed for the phone. Why are you going through with it? You've got a pic of your girl on your lock screen, yeah? I do not. And just because this game just because the protagonist says it, means it's not true. But he did. It was scary how on the mark Sasayama's instincts were. Hey, cut it out. We're in the middle of an investigation. I am investigating. Sasayama chuckled as he plucked the phone from Kano's pocket. His face scrunched up with astonishment as he looked at the lock screen. The heck is this? It's not. Ain't this Masami Nagahama? A national star tends to play the heroine on national morning soap operas or in national historic dramas. Her songs have been a series of national hits, and she's even slated to host the year-end national singing competition program. Everything about her is national. Don't know what national means in this context. Kano realized he had to bite the bullet. No, that's my girlfriend. Wait, what? Her name's Rumi, and she's... Sasayama cut him off. You're telling me this ain't Masami Nagahama, the famous actress? Because this right here is Masami Nagahama. Like I said, you sly old dog. Trying to make like you're dating Masami Nagahama. I'm not. I mean, Rumi does kinda look like her. Sasayama let out a huff. For real? You really think I'm gonna fall for that? There's nothing to fall for, I swear. Sasayama scowled, unconvinced. Alright then, why don't you marry her? Kano stammered, but he had no answer. The truth was, he would have happily married her already. But there were obstacles that needed to be overcome. Okay, playtime's over. Let's focus on the job. Sasayama handed back Kano's phone and turned his gaze back to Hitomi. Kano let out a quick uneasy sigh. But his shoulders did feel looser. Maybe Sasayama had been trying to relieve a bit of the tension. Maybe he should be grateful. By now, several minutes had passed since the guy with the papers had gone away. He peered at Hitomi. The strain on her face was visible. In addition to the weight of the attaché case itself, the 5,000, 10,000 yen bills it held weighed close to 6 kilos. Her slender arms must have been getting tired. Still, she refused to set the case down. She wasn't taking any chances with her sister's life. The kidnapping case had begun the day before at around 7 p.m. That's the Zero Escape music I love. This is MPD Dispatch. The Shibuya precinct is reporting a missing person believed to be an abduction. In Japanese law, the act of indirectly luring or deceiving someone into the control of a third party is known as kidnapping. Using forcible threats or violence to achieve the same result is known as abduction. Subject is Maria Asawa, a 19-year-old student at Midoriyama Academy, last seen at the LL Diner near campus. A man was allegedly seen forcing her into a car nearby. All officers in the vicinity report to the scene at once. Kano and Sasayama had been working a burglary case in Jingumei's 5th district when they got the call. The two arrived at the LL Diner at 7:15 p.m. At roughly the same time, several other officers showed up to secure the area, blocking off entry to nearby roadways and monitoring the surrounding establishments. Inside the restaurant, Kano and Sasayama were met by a girl who reported the kidnapping. It was the victim's twin sister, Hitomi. Could you tell us about when Maria was taken, starting from the very beginning? Kano said, keeping his voice low. My sister and I, we were supposed to go to a party together today. Hitomi was trembling, her voice hoarse. But I messed up the time. I showed up right at 7, an hour later than I was supposed to. So Maria had gone alone to the party, a mixer for locals and exchange students. Hitomi, arriving late, had showed up just in time to glance out through the restaurant window and see her sister get shoved into a car. She described the vehicle as a blue station wagon of Japanese make. Why? Why would something like this happen to her? Hitomi held back her tears, but she was shaking all over. Did you get a look at the kidnapper? Yes, it was a man, middle-aged. There was another eyewitness, Leland Palmer. He identified himself as a lecturer at Hitomi and Maria's school. I saw too. It's like Hitomi says. I heard Hitomi cry out, and so I went to the window to look. And his Japanese was halting, as if he hadn't been in the country very long. I think that maybe the kidnapper was working alone. Leland explained that he'd seen the man shove Maria into the back seat, then clamber into the driver's seat. If he had an accomplice, wouldn't they have been driving? Neither Hitomi nor Leland had gotten a look at the suspect's face. Kano was interviewing others who had been on the scene, looking for other potential witnesses, when his phone rang. It was Yoshio Kajiwara, one of the senior detectives. We've set up a task force for the investigation. We've set up a task force for the investigation. Get back to the station once you have a handle on the situation there. Barely half an hour had passed between the time the kidnapping was reported and the time the task force had begun operation. 150 people are working on the case. The main force is the HQ First Special Investigation Unit. Additionally, the other detective sections, a riot squad, and investigators from neighboring precincts have been assembled. When Kano and Sasayama got back to the precinct station, Kuze had already arrived from HQ. He informed them that a response team had been formed to investigate the victim's home. In a case where someone had been abducted for ransom, it is often quite difficult to resolve the situation without cooperating from the victim's family. But the family can also be a hindrance in making an arrest. To help guide the family's actions, a response team is assembled and stationed at the victim's home, led by an investigator with proper training. In a case, hold on. Kano could feel a peculiar tension in the air. Familiar MPD detectives scurried to and fro around the Shibuya offices. He pulled one of them aside to get a quick update. An hour had now passed since the kidnapping. There had been one new development. The perpetrator had made a threatening call to the victim's home. He said the following: "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., by Hachiko in Shibuya. Have the sister Itomi bring 50 million yen. If not, the girl's life is forfeit." Kajiwara from the precinct was put on the response team, along with detectives from elsewhere who'd received special training in abduction cases. Normally, a local precinct detective wouldn't have gone undercover in a victim's home. Kuze, however, had decided that having a knowledgeable local was crucial, and he had sent Kajiwara along. The detective disguised themselves as delivery people and movers to make their way inside without arousing suspicion. Well, the guy we're playing right now is definitely not disguised as a delivery person or a mover. He's wearing a suit. The response team had come prepared to run a trace if the kidnapper had contacted the family for a second time. The act of pinpointing the source of an incoming phone call. The police are not allowed to do this independently without oversight. They must go through a formalized process that includes securing the cooperation of the phone company. In the past, conducting the trace itself would take time, but nowadays acquiring the location can be practically instantaneous. But there were no further calls. Kano checked his watch again. 20 minutes had now passed since the time designated for the ransom handoff. The kidnapper had yet to appear. Crap, you think we might have spooked him? He wondered aloud. Obviously you spooked him. You're so suspicious. Hey, stay calm. Sasayama scanned the passing throng. If he's not spooked, then he's just not aware of his surroundings. He's just playing with us. Why'd this guy even pick this place? Kano voiced the question he'd been asking himself ever since he'd heard the kidnapper's demands. Sasayama shrugged. Figure he must want to blend in with the crowd. Now nab the money and disappear before anyone knows he's there would be my guess. In that case, why not pick Shinjuku or Ginza? The big crowd didn't just benefit the kidnapper after all. It also allowed the police to use the sea of people to conceal their own operation. Right now, there were 50 detectives stationed within a 50-meter radius of where Hitomi stood. The kidnapper would be taking a major risk if his plan to nab the ransom money was to nab the ransom money and run. That's what bothered Kano. Any criminal with half a brain would know better to do a handoff in front of Hachiko. You're overthinking things, pal. No. No, we're not. Sasayama grumbled. No, I'm not. Kano reached into his pocket and pulled out his notepad. Okay, that's quite the term. This was Kano's diary, which he always kept close at hand.